Hello, I'm Mark.
I'm Casey.
And I'm Patrick.
And today we're going to talk about the deal for MegaCharger sites. But first, Casey's going to roll that credit for us.
Walk, walk. That'd be really cool if the Semi has a horn that's just a bigger version of the Cybertruck's horn.
You're watching the Tesla Life Express.
Hey everyone, thanks for being with us today. We have talked about this day many times in the past. We didn't know when this day was coming, but we knew something was brewing when it came to the TeslaSemi and its MegaChargers, the 1.2 megawatt chargers that are going to keep those rigs rolling across states, across the country as a whole, across North America. It was announced just yesterday that Pilot and Flying J, which are the same company but had two different brand names, Pilot owns Flying J, announced that they have entered into a deal with Tesla to open up a number of Flying J / Pilot locations for a MegaCharger to be added. Each location, depending on its size, will get somewhere between 4 and 8 stalls. And of course, the bonus with this is that these are already existing truck stops. Truckers are used to these sites. They're easy on, easy off of major highways. And they have the ability, of course, to supply the other needs of the truck driver. There's restaurants, there's washrooms, there's showers, there's places to sleep, there's convenience stores. There's all sorts of products and services that the truck drivers would and continue to use now. And Flying J gets to not lose any customers. They're going to be adding a new alternative fuel bank that will be added to their location or plaza. But the same truck drivers are going to be able to get the services that they've always enjoyed. They'll be able to use their rewards cards. They'll be able to continue to operate as usual. The only difference being that while they're shopping or grabbing a bite to eat, the vehicle is out charging at a charge stall as opposed to pumping fuel into the tanks. So this is something that we've said previously that we thought this has got to happen. You know, they have to reach out to some of these truck plazas, and it turns out that Pilot, being the largest, was what Tesla was after, and this deal signifies that this is going to start. They're going to start with the first wave of these stops. There's going to be 35 of them, and construction again starts now, and they estimate that sites will start coming online somewhere in this summer and start to fill out some of these networks. And I do have a photo that I can share where they're indicating approximately where they are on the map.
Oh, cool. And, yeah, I was wondering, like, are they going to be all up and down I-5? Or are they going to take some other route?
So we've got a lot of I-5 up and down between Washington and California. We've got another cluster that works its way over to the Dallas Fort Worth area. And then we've got some outliers in Denver, Chicagoland, and over on the New York side. And of course, down into the southeast, all around Atlanta seems to be popular routes for regional trucking.
Atlanta. Coke was one of the first signees.
Exactly. So this is something that we've been waiting for some time, and of course the timing couldn't be any better because of course Tesla is finishing their semi plant in Nevada in Sparks, and it is about to start to deliver vehicles. They say the end of Q1. I'm thinking Q2, based on the drone shots we're getting from that area. We're still seeing a lot of equipment being moved in. So you've still got to go through testing. You've got to build that first truck and then iterate from there based on the small little changes you're going to need here and there. But this is certainly some great news. The PDF news release that Pilot put out there had this image attached to it, showing the actual chargers in place and the semis lined up taking fuel charge. And of course, when it comes to a Pilot center, you haven't got trucks that are backing up into a charging area. They're just pulling through with their trailer if they have a trailer and charging, and then driving out the other side back onto the highway, and away they go.
The lighting is a good idea. I'm seeing the light bulbs in the video here, the photo here. However, they have canopies on the diesel side. Why not a solar canopy for these things? They're not going to smoke it.
Oh, there's. It's not saying that there won't be.
I'm not saying there won't be, but
a solar panel or a canopy. But you'll also know that Flying J Pilot has moved into an earlier arrangement with GM. That they built a number of
and those have
light duty car charging ports at their locations, and all of them have a canopy.
They do, but what I was saying was for your hero image, not just a canopy, but one made of solar panels.
Yeah,
easy. It's just a render, right? So I'm thinking the solar panels will help offset their cost. However, I'm also wondering since these MegaChargers are probably going to have MegaPacks attached to them.
Probably.
That also gives them a little bit of resiliency in regional power outages.
No, I agree that that's something that they're after, but they're probably looking to walk first instead of run, and they're probably saying, let's get a couple of them up and operational. Let's see how it operates, and we're not going to hold up any progress by having to, put a canopy in place first. Let's see if we can get a few of them running as is. We can always add canopies later.
Yeah, or maybe they said, hey, if we're going to do a canopy, it needs to be solar, but then they realized that's more permitting and more everything.
Yep.
That's electrical now.
And that might be more time.
Yeah. The other thing I'm looking at here is they said 4 to 8. And my understanding was that 4 to 8, you get 8 car chargers for every MegaCharger. But does this mean they're going to have 8 units, or are these things even more capable than we were led to believe? Just like they can charge faster than we were led to believe when they
may
found
be
out they
more
could do
capable, certainly. But I also look at how many vehicles, how many actual trucks will be rolling by certain sites. Tesla's going to start to collect data, and I'm sure they'll be sharing it with Pilot, saying, "Listen, we've got an issue on, say, the I-40 corridor. We noticed that there's a lot more trucks driving that corridor than we expected. There's only 3 spots to stop. 2 of them have 4 chargers. 1 of them has 8. We're going to have to upgrade, Pilot. We're going to have to put another 4 or another 8 in certain areas based on how we see the pieces moving around on the board."
Well, that for sure. But I was thinking that they were letting on to the capabilities of the hardware. In that when they went up to 1.2 from 1, that maybe one cabinet could do more than one stall for the trucks. Like maybe instead of 8, it can do 4, but they have to be able to do whatever each cabinet claims it can do for the truck. It has to be able to meet the claims of the truck being ready to go by the time that the mandatory minimums are out there. Like if you got a 30-minute forced break and they've promised you to be ready before your break is over, they need to be able to keep that up, even if they're using one
Time
stall
is money in this situation.
One cabinet.
If your car takes an extra 15 minutes to charge or whatever, it's no big deal. But if it's keeping them from making money, then or being late for delivery or whatever, it's not. They're not going to be happy customers. Definitely,
especially if the customer tells them to destroy the product. We don't want it. Oh,
right. Yes. or you have to eat some fee for late delivery or whatever.
Yeah.
That's a bad situation. So I wonder how. So Tesla doesn't do these kinds of deals exclusively, right? So I wonder who. Now that this is out there, there's always the lead rabbit, right? The rabbit customer, and then others who are like, oh, like now Loves is going to say, hey, we want to be on board with this too, or whoever else. And there's also Tesla could do their own Oasis type stops for semis as well.
Well, we already heard about
they are
that,
doing that, yeah.
right? We already heard that in the I-5 corridor. It was
next to the large supercharger.
Yeah, it was the second largest supercharger on I-5 that they announced that they're adding a bunch of other car chargers, but they're also adding 8 and possibly 16 semi MegaChargers. So that is a Tesla-owned property, and they're adding to it. So I would definitely see that there's that possibility for those Fireball. That's what I was thinking of.
Fireball, yeah.
Yes, I was just trying to Google it. Yep.
That gives you the ability
loves
to have different setups. Tesla doesn't, as Patrick said, they don't have to be exclusive with anybody,
right.
And they have certainly shown their prowess of being able to make their own land deals and put in Tesla superchargers all over the place. And I got to think that the supercharger department is now looking at dual use sites. Because why not sign a deal? The thing that you have to worry about is the ability to move around a semi-trailer and the ability to have a quick on-off ability, because that's what those trucks want. Right. Now, on top of that is, as mentioned here with the Flying J / Pilot deal, the amenities for the drivers remain the same. Tesla Oasis type stations would definitely have to up their ante somewhat as to what retail abilities, what purchases, what sleep areas, what washroom abilities, showers, all those other things that these travel centers have already. They're going to have to up their game if they want to come on par.
This could be their dipping their toe in the water. They partner with Pilot. They've got their own, and they learn what to do to end up not being just a snack shop and a bathroom at their own. And they Tesla diner it across the country.
Or maybe they don't want to compete with Pilot Flying J. Maybe they want to just be, okay, if you have a 30-minute stop, then you can use us and you have a bathroom and a vending room, some coffee, but not much else. And if you want to stop for 3 hours or 6 hours or whatever, take a nap, then you go someplace with more facilities.
Yeah, that's possible too.
The cool thing about this is, regardless, if you're going to spend time in the cab, whether you're just resting or doing paperwork or whatever, you don't have to idle to have air conditioning or heat or whatever you might need.
And you don't need a giant hose in the window either.
Yeah.
How many times have you stopped at a travel center and the smell of diesel exhaust is something that can knock you off your feet, especially for us EV people that have not smelled gas around their cars for a long time. Getting that type of a whiff of all these engines running, keeping their air conditioners or their heaters going is something that is quite sickening.
Yes,
I get annoyed by the gas cars that start up in the wintertime around me. It's like, oh, why do I gotta smell that?
I think I came across an article recently about how it's double standard that the exhaust that comes out of vehicles, if that was put into the water, that would be pollution in water that is regulated by the government. That cannot happen. But yet we allow it to blow into the air free of charge, and we have no issue with it.
Yep.
Total double standard.
Yep.
And it's only because we had no other option. But now that we have an option, it's just too normalized for people. Unless, like you said, you've been driving an EV for a while and you're not used to it. Now you're like, oh my God, why would anybody ever do that?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's something for you, Patrick, for an article. I watched part of a video essay and then something happened. It disappeared from the screen. Probably one of these little ones here. They were talking about India's use of coal. And they said, well, it's not that coal is actually cheaper for India to do. And it's not that they don't know it's bad for them. But yet they continue to invest in coal.
What?
Even though they know solar, wind, and batteries is cheaper.
Entrenched interests always love the status quo that makes them money. So they're going to do regulatory capture, political capture, put things in place to guarantee their cash flow keeps going, which, planet be damned. I don't care. I'll get rich. That's just the greed of humanity.
And I think that's where it went next, because they showed up next at a coal mine in India. And then, like I said, the Munchkins made my video disappear. Or I got into a meeting. I don't know what.
Just wanted to read a couple of points from the actual newsletter that was released by Pilot. Construction of the TeslaSemi chargers will begin in the first half of 2026, as mentioned. at select pilot travel centers planned across California, Georgia, Nevada, New Mexico, and Texas will be the first batch. Centers equipped with semi-chargers will host somewhere between 4 and 8 charging stalls and will leverage the Tesla V4 cabinet technology, delivering up to 1.2 megawatts of power at each separate stall. The network will initially focus on providing charging infrastructure for the TeslaSemi trucks. In the future, it may be expanded to other heavy-duty electric vehicles from other manufacturers. But in the beginning, it, of course, will be semis only.
I think I was onto something. I just did 500 kilowatts times 8 is 4 megawatts. So perhaps one cabinet can charge 4 semis. That's assuming that you had 8 Cybertrucks descend upon once, and then they could all get full charge.
Well, I guess we will see as this starts to happen. And of course, we're a couple months, a few months, maybe a quarter and a half away from these vehicles starting to show up. And of course, we're hoping that there is a change made to supercharge.info, where we can just look up Tesla semi-chargers and at a quick glance see the different pictures and construction that is ongoing on these special chargers across the nation.
That may be coming. One of the places I saw the reporting on this, he said that as he saw it get posted by it's been permitted since like September, and then when he saw Marco find it, he went ahead and put it on PlugShare. And so I have a feeling that they might start showing up on Supercharge.
Yeah, it wouldn't be much just to add another designation to a charger to indicate that besides trailers, this one actually has a semi component to it.
Yeah, we don't need MegaCharge.info to add it.
Exactly.
Just add that and redirect it back to Supercharge.info, and then all of them would be pull through.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Pretty cool.
Well, with that said, let's do some shout outs. Casey, what do you got for us?
Well, we've got the Tesla Life Express shows. If you like these, turn on the bell. You never know how many you'll get. There'll be at least 2. And then catch us on Sunday for Let's Chat with Casey and Friends over at youtube.com/Casey Green, x.com/Casey Green, and see who shows up. It'll be fun.
Very good. Very good. Patrick?
As always, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org, and I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net, where I write about my future free from fossil fuels. Thanks.
If you're still watching, please give us a thumbs up on the video, press that subscribe button. And if you want to follow us through the week, check out our X handle at the Tesla Life. You can see what's happening in between shows. With that said, thanks very much for being here, and we'll get together next time and find out what's happening in the Tesla Life.